Hi everyone, my name is Andrew McKenna. This is my case study slides on Get This Child Out of My Room. This case was about a new SPED teacher named Ms. Green who was approached by a veteran teacher at her school named Mrs. Taylor, who was requesting to have a student named Carl removed from her room because of his recent behavior that was aggressive towards others. He is diagnosed with a behavior disorder, and in the past it has been self-harm, but now it's changed since his parents' recent divorce. Ms. Green changed the intervention and called an IEP, but yet Mrs. Taylor was still not happy with the outcome of the IEP. The problem. Basically, Mrs. Taylor wants Carl completely removed from her classroom. Since his parents' divorce, Carl's behavior has changed from just self-injurious to aggression towards others, throwing pencils at teachers' heads, throwing rocks out the window at teachers, slamming books, yelling things in class. The SPED teacher is new, brand new out of college, and is not doing things like Miss Taylor would want, which is like the former teacher that held the position for 25 years did. The district is in a very rural area and has limited resources as well as limited supervision. There is one superintendent for all the schools. Each school has an assigned teacher who also plays double duty as assistant superintendent within their own school. Things we do know. It's a brand new teacher for the special education position. Right out of school, she replaced a 25-year veteran teacher. The school has limited resources. Carl is diagnosed with a behavior disorder, but his intellectual functioning is normal. Carl had recently just had an IEP the second week of school where the reward consequence system was in place, and apparently Mrs. Taylor at the time was content with that, as well as Carl's parents. Carl's parents recently went through a very bitter divorce. During the IEP, mom was very reactive towards dad. His behavior has changed from self-harm to aggression towards others. Ms. Green did contact the SPED coordinator to discuss the issue and seek advice. Mrs. Taylor said that the rewards consequence system no longer works. So Ms. Green did create a new intervention plan about having him removed from her classroom when his behavior escalates. Mrs. Taylor wants him still, though, removed from the classroom and is unhappy with the new IEP plan. Things we need to know. What are the antecedents to Carl's aggressive behavior? What's causing these? Is it people? Is it sensory? What's going on? What are Carl's motivators and strengths? What is he like? What gets him going? What keeps him engaged? What happens after he exhibits the negative behaviors? Are they being addressed? Are they being, in a sense, egged on with language or other students? Has there been a functional behavior analysis done on Carl to kind of see what the function of the behavior is? What resources are available to help Ms. Taylor while Carl is in her classroom? Is there any other interventions that Ms. Taylor would perhaps be happier with instead of completely having him removed from the class? Has Carl received any counseling like his siblings have since his parents' recent divorce? What resources are available to help the parents? Is there any type of counseling that could help them? Is there any type of financial things that could help with mom, as she stated that she's working now full-time and she's stressed? And what systems does the school have in place to develop teacher collaboration so that they have better relationships? Plan of action. I think it's important to contact the district social worker to see what resources are available for the family. Is there counseling? Is there financial assistance? Is there some type of Big Brothers, Big Sisters, adult child mentoring program that could perhaps help Carl as well as his other two siblings, since mom and dad seem to be in kind of crisis mode? I think it's important to contact the special education coordinator to discuss what could be available to help Miss Green and Mrs. Taylor be more successful with Carl. I think it's important to have a one-on-one meeting with Ms. Green and Miss Taylor, just privately, one with each, to let them talk about their side, their views, what's going on with them, what they need help with, how I could be of more assistance, what resources could benefit them. I think it's important then to schedule a group meeting with Ms. Green, Ms. Taylor, and the SPED coordinator, so they could sit down and really discuss a good plan. Perhaps that didn't happen before. And so to better get Mrs. Taylor on board, since intellectually, Carl seems to be able to be in a regular ed classroom instead of full-time pullout. And I think the school really would benefit from an MTSS team. They don't seem to really have a lot of resources, but they need definitely some type of multi-tiered system of support to not only support these students like Carl, but to support other students and teachers. I think it would be important to create weekly meetings for this team to review data, to make important decisions that will help all teachers and the students. And I think it's also important to implement some type of team builders. This group, especially with newcomers and veterans, they need to learn a little bit about each other and how to work together and develop relationships. I think that the family definitely could improve with some healing from some counseling and possibly financial resources. This would promote the success of not only Carl, but perhaps there's other families out there that could use this type of help. Also, we need to reduce stress for Mrs. Taylor and Miss Green by finding additional resources or strategies that could help them with Carl and other students within their classrooms. I think the MTSS team would be a huge resource for all students and developing staff collaboration. So even if it's just a fun activity to let the teachers unwind, decompress, get to know each other, perhaps that way it'll increase communication and collaboration. Reflection. Of course, I feel that collaboration and communication are huge. That's why I felt that it was so important to develop and implement team builders. You need to get to know those you work with. You don't have to be best friends, but you at least need to be able to understand a little bit about them so you know how to work with each other. The ultimate goal should be what's best for all students. Of course, I felt great sadness for this family. Personally, having gone through my own divorce when my children were younger and seeing the impact on them, I definitely can relate with this family, how it can affect them emotionally, all of them, and the kids academically. So I think it's important to find resources that could help them begin to heal. And this school really needs a support system. I've seen what a great benefit the MTSS team is at my school and how it's helped me be able to process and get ideas and help with those challenging students, and not just the challenging ones, but even with my other students that occasionally kind of have a little bump here and there. I think having that system in place would be a huge benefit, since there is such limited supervision and supports within the schools out in this rural community. How I promote success for all students? Well, obviously by creating that MTSS team, that's a huge benefit to all students. Using data, I think data is so important. It's my SPED background in me, where I feel like if you have students like Carl or students whose behavior has changed, seeking or creating data, using data to make informed decisions instead of just immediate kind of knee-jerk reaction decisions. Finding what motivates Carl, if his current reward consequence system isn't working, but what is Carl like? What is he good at? What are his strengths? What will motivate him to do the right thing and make better choices? How could we encourage that behavior? How I promote student well-being? Well, I think seeking those outside resources to help start healing the family is huge. seeking an adult student mentoring program, giving maybe Carl and other students like him an outlet with an adult who is a good role model, good listener, and could be a good support system for them. And then, of course, developing the MTSS team is going to help with all students. Enhancing instructional capability. Teacher collaboration is huge. You can learn so much more from each other than you can from just reading a textbook or, no offense, sitting through a half-day in-service. You know, teachers try different strategies all the time, and if you have good communication and collaboration, you can learn so much from each other, what works, what doesn't. And then, of course, finding additional resources to alleviate some stress on those teachers dealing with challenging students, or those teachers that are new, trying to help set them up so they're more successful in their classrooms. And of course, I chose 2 different standards. I think it's important as a building leader that we develop systems in place, not only to improve student performance, but also to help teachers improve their craft. Implementing the MTSS team will also help all students within the building and teachers. That's a great resource. And I think staff have to be able to collaborate and communicate, not only with each other, but develop those relationships amongst themselves, with families, with students, with the community. And we need to find out what resources are out there and available for all. But those relationships are huge, and I think it just makes for a more successful school, more successful staff, and definitely improves the success of all of our students. Thank you for watching.